JP. I'm the metal detectorist from the state of Maryland who was lucky enough, while metal detecting, to find an amazing discovery, Francis Roark's ID disc. And that is why we are here today, together, to pay tribute to Francis Roark. I'm going to start out the ceremony with an individual that we will be speaking that does not need any introduction and stands out amongst all of us. It looks very familiar to the 16th President of the United States.
I'd like to start first, maybe set the stage, so to speak, give you a few comments about at least what I have learned about Francis Roark. As has been mentioned, he was with the 14th New Hampshire Regiment. He served in Company F. And of all the men in the 14th Regiment, both the youngest, age 15, and the oldest, age 63, were in Company F. And I think this is very fitting because it represents the diversity, the range in ages of the men who served in the 14th. And the 14th, as it turned out, was the last New Hampshire regiment recruited to serve for 3 years. Most of the regiments were recruited for 9 months. Well, as you might imagine, it's not too hard to imagine this, I suppose. Given the range of ages and the fact that there was a substantial difference in both ages and experience between the 14th's officers and its enlisted men, the regiment got off to a, shall we say, less than promising start. But because of the regiment serving 9 months, a short while after being formed and being sent to Washington, D.C., it served 9 months of difficult and exacting duties in Washington, which helped them to develop into disciplined, well-seasoned soldiers. And this change, I was somewhat surprised to read, this change in the members of this regiment was obvious enough in Washington to earn the personal and emphatic commendation of President Lincoln. In February of 1864, after helping to repel our capital from a guerrilla invasion, the regiment was given a furlough to go home to vote. I would like to read an address that President Lincoln delivered to an Ohio regiment about to return home. I believe it expresses Lincoln's sentiment towards all his boys in blue. Soldiers of the Union, I suppose you are going home to see your families and friends. For the service you have done in this great struggle in which we are engaged, I present you sincere thanks for myself and for the country. I almost always feel inclined, when I happen to say anything to soldiers, to impress upon them in a few brief remarks the importance of success in this contest. It is not merely for today, but for all time to come, that we should perpetuate for our children's children this great and free government which we have enjoyed all our lives. I beg you to remember, not merely for my sake, but for yours. I happened temporarily to occupy that big white house. I am a living witness that any one of your children may look to come here as my father's child has. It is in order that each of you may have, through this free government which we have enjoyed, an open field and a fair chance for your industry, enterprise, and intelligence. That you may all have equal privileges in the race of life, with all its desirable human aspirations. It is for this the struggle should be maintained, that we may not lose our birthright, not only for 1, but for 2 or 3 years. The nation is worth fighting for, to secure such an inestimable jewel. And so, without any further ado, I want to thank JP for this event that he has put on today. And thank all of you for participating today and helping to support this event. Thank you.
Start out by saying I really appreciate the fact that you guys can be out here today in this cold weather, because I'm not used to this, because this is it's fairly cold for me right now, and the Maryland weather is a little bit warmer, so just bear with me if I'm starting to shiver. I don't know if you noticed, I started from this side over here in the shade, and I was like, yeah, no. And that's why I walked behind your head and come over here to the sun. But you know, I just wanted to start out by saying in February of this year, I made a discovery, and it was a life-changing discovery. It put me on a path, a mission, to find out where Francis Roark lived, where he was buried, and whether or not he had any living direct descendants, which was very important to me to find out. He was a son, a brother, a husband, and a father. And he, like many during that time period, took the call of duty to serve and left his family behind to serve for the Union in the Civil War with the New Hampshire Volunteers. At some point, while in Maryland, he lost his ID tag, his ID disc. Some may recognize it as a dog tag. And that is when our connection, my connection with Francis Roark began. It's been almost 160 years since Francis Roark's ID tag, his ID disc, has been this close to him. To me, that's just amazing to think about. It was getting on a plane for the first time, you know, coming out here. When you think about all those little small things or details, it's just amazing to think about. During my research of Francis Roark, I couldn't find anything mentioned of his service being honored by Veteran Affairs. That to me was unacceptable. And it put me on that mission. And I knew it had to change. That is why we are here today. And that changes today. We recognize Francis Roark for his service to his country. I did this to have everybody here today, but I didn't do it alone. I had help along the way. And I can't take all the credit for it because there's many people that are behind the scenes that helped me along the way. And I have to mention some of them while we are here. Beth Butler, who is standing right here in the center. She's from the town of Keene, or the city of Keene. She assisted me along the way. And what I mean by that is, I needed anything possible for Veteran Affairs when you're filling out the application process to make sure that a stone marker can be made. And I needed confirmation. Yes, I had the family plot that I knew was here, but I needed absolute confirmation that Francis Roark was buried right here. Miss Butler was able to research Keene records and find an index card that was held within Keene records that had Francis Roark's exact burial location with his child as well. He had a 20-year-old child, Elizabeth, who passed away early. The other person I'd like to mention is Heather Huell, who worked with the cemetery and parish. She too helped me along the way and helped me get in contact with people that I needed to talk to. But one of the most important persons that works behind the scenes that I really need to mention, and he's not even from this area at all, is Alvin Hawkins. Now, Mr. Hawkins assisted me with Veteran Affairs. When I got all the paperwork together and any of the research that I did, I needed to go through Veteran Affairs to do the application process. Mr. Hawkins knew exactly what needed to be done in the red tape that he needed to go through to make this happen so quickly. If it was not for Mr. Hawkins, this stone marker, this engraved marker, would not be here today so quickly. It's only been 10 months, and that, to me, seems awfully quick to be able to have a stone marker engraved and put here. I'd like to also note that Mr. Hawkins has not only done this for Francis Roark, but he has also done this for many other Civil War soldiers around the country without recognition behind the scenes. So I had to mention Mr. Hawkins. I'd like to also mention the beautiful flowers that are here today, representing from Winchester, New Hampshire, the residents, I'm being told. They were given by an anonymous person on behalf of the citizens of Winchester, which means a lot because Winchester is Francis Roark's hometown. So on behalf of the citizens of Winchester, I dedicate these flowers in tribute to Francis Roark's service. I'd like to thank, behind me, all the reenactors that are out here today from the 6th Infantry New Hampshire Volunteers. I appreciate it. I appreciate Maddie for coordinating things with me to make sure that this was a success. I'd like to also thank the Patriot Guard Riders who are here today and for all that you do for military veterans across the country. Thank you very much. I'd like to also thank anyone that I may have forgot. There's many of you that were behind the scenes that assisted me along the way. This stone marker being revealed, it reads, Francis Roark, Company F, 14th New Hampshire Infantry, Civil War, 1842 to 1885. This stone marker is so that we never forget Francis Roark's service to his country. It's for future generations to know that no service member, absolutely no service member, should ever be forgotten for their service to their country. I'd like to take an opportunity to also thank all active and retired service members across this country that are protecting us every day. I'd like to also take a moment of silence in prayer, followed by the honorary 21-gun salute.
Shoulder, arm. Company, ready. Firing by section. First section, aim. Fire. Second section, aim. Fire. Third section, aim. Fire. Recover. Arm. Reset. Arm.